on to our next panel. Next is a firebrand speaker and one of the finest orators we have in the media and entertainment space. Welcome the dynamic Mr. Akash Banerjee, business head, Voot AVOD, and he's going to be speaking on the user dominant story in the new economy. Please welcome Mr. Akash Banerjee.
Hello, check. Can you open the presentation? Hello. Hello. Hope you guys can hear me clearly.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, all of you. A very, very warm and a sunny morning. Though it's cloudy outside, nevertheless. Siddharth, where are you? Siddharth, thank you so much for having me over here. It's always a pleasure. Well, I think I have got about 20 minutes or time. I will try and keep it short and brief. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is essentially a collection of thoughts which actually emanated from a conversation that I had with one of my friends. A friend who is actually started off a new venture in the digital space, who pretty much symbolizes, what usually we associate most of the young startup companies with, which is a lot of users spending a lot of time on the platform, but still not much of revenues to show at this juncture on his P&L, under immense duress to get some investments from a VC firm. And we were having a chat, and he was talking about, ways and means to get more funding, because otherwise he was unable to really continue with his business because the operating costs had really skyrocketed, and a lot of the discussions happened. And to one point, I asked him, tell me this, what exactly is the problem? How much are you really valuing your company? And he gave me an obnoxious number. And I absolutely fell off my chair. I said, hey, currently you don't have any revenues for yourself. Your operating costs are immense, and you are looking at a valuation which is as high as this. How the hell is that possible? No wonder the VC firm or the PE firm is not willing to fund your setup. And at that point in time, he asked me something simple. And he said that in today's day and age, in this new economy, is it really so much about how much of revenue you are making? Or is the story about what is the scale of users you are getting on the platform and the value that you are generating from them? And isn't that the case with how big companies like Google, like Facebook, like Amazon and Netflix have built their business or had built their businesses when they really didn't have much of revenues and profits to show? And that certainly got me thinking. It certainly also got me right deep into the rabbit hole of internet, my solace. Did a lot of research, did a lot of studies, heard a lot of interesting videos from Scott Galloway and Professor Ashwath from the Stern University. In case you guys haven't heard about these speakers, please do check them out. There are some amazing profs who do a lot of work around that. And I, of course, looked at the cash flows and the valuation for my own business, that is Voot. And what I realized is that, what do you think is common amongst this, it's getting cut over there, What's common amongst these few of the big internet market cap firms? Your Alphabet, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Apple of the world. What do you guys think? The first natural answer that's going to come to is technology. Well, they are not in the business of technology. Technology is the enabler. That's the tool that helps them do what they are doing. The other usual recourse is, but it must be about the people who are at the helm. If you think wearing turtleneck sweaters and jersey is going to help you drive higher market value for your firm, then you guys need to leave this room immediately. If someone says that they must be in the business of data, because we all keep on hearing, and in the recent past, we have heard a lot of interesting stuff about that if consumer is the king, then data is the kingdom, and blah, blah, blah. Some amazing preposterous stories. Nobody is in the business of data. Data, again, it's a way to help you generate more value for your business. And lastly, if you think what is it that's common amongst these firms is that you need to be in social networking, or you need to be in video, or you need to be in e-commerce, take a pause. Because now most of these firms are pretty much straddling across the width of different categories, different businesses. Amazon is in e-commerce, it's in cloud service, it's also in video service. The business, what is the common theme amongst each of these big market cap firms is the story about the users. In this new age, in this new economy, the valuation of most of these big firms is increasingly getting derived from the story of the scale of users, the intensity of the users, which is on the back of the engagement and affinity. So when you think about Facebook, you're not just thinking about 2 billion Facebook users. You're also thinking about 1 hour of time that the Facebook users are currently spending on the platform. And third, these guys, these firms have found a unique way, A, to allocate a certain value for their users, and B, find ways and means to drive higher value from their users. Because in this new world, everything is being determined increasingly on the back of a user-first story. Let's talk about closer home, something that the world from where I come in, which is the world of content. And we just had an interesting panel talking about content, talking about AWOD, talking about SWOD, talking about measurement, talking about multiple things, right? Couple of years back, the world of TV was all about content, content, and content. Different genres, reality, non-fiction, fiction, drama, love, romance, all different cuts that you can potentially think of. But the limitation very clearly was that you didn't have any ways and means to determine or to reach out a certain user. The world of TV was largely getting determined on the back of aggregates. And what aggregates? 20, 30,000 odd homes which had installed people meter. So there was no way for me, if I'm a broadcaster, to know what is the value of a certain user. What is the cost of servicing that a certain user? If I want to speak to him, I cannot do that. If I want to sell him or her more, I cannot do that. Because all I know is that my audience is 18 to 24 females living in XYZ metro or non-metro markets, and that's about it. And in the world of OTT, however, it's completely changed. Sorry, there's some, yeah. In the world of OTT, however, there are ways and means, A, to determine what is the value that a consumer brings to your platform. What are the different business models? We again heard about AWOD, TWOD, SWOD, freemium, mix and match of multiple business models. And of course, inventory is infinite. There is no finite appointment-based 12 minutes per hour that has been regulated by the government that you can only run so many ads. On the digital medium, its inventory is awashed. And when we talk about the value of a user, when we talk about how do you hence start valuing your business, the standard principle that has been running for multiple years has been the DCF method, which is the discounted cash flow. Under that, what we usually do is we look at the business at an aggregate level. What is the profit? What is the revenue? What is the cost? And hence, what is the cash value, cash flow that you're getting 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And the value of a business today is the discounted rate of the future cash flows that your business is going to generate. If you guys don't know about DCF, please go back and read more about this DCF principle, because this is the method indeed which is used at scale. However, in the digital industry, the DCF method need not necessarily only be calculated at an aggregate basis. Because over here, in the digital business, where you have a clear understanding, clear measurability of each and every user, you can actually do a DCF at a user level. For every user, you can actually find out what is the revenue that you're going to make now, 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later. What is the cost of servicing that user now, 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later? How much of operational cost do I need to incur? And hence, what is the earning? And you can then again discount it back to your present value, which you can do at a disaggregated level, at an individual user level. And you can also break that down into existing versus new users. And I will talk more about that in the subsequent sections. Existing versus new user. We have heard this multiple times, and the holy grail still continues to be that you have to find ways to retain your existing users on the platform. And why is that so? There is no, I'm not in love with my existing users. There is no reason beyond rationale, beyond hard numbers as to why I value my existing users. The reason is that to get a new user on my platform, I need to spend money. And the moment I need to spend money to get a new user on my platform, my valuation of that user goes down, because my earning from that user gets impacted adversely. As opposed to an existing user, where if I'm not spending money to acquire him because he's anyway loyal to my platform, I can keep on generating value, I can keep on generating revenues and profits from him. And how do I increase my value from my existing users? By obviously offering more products and more services. Why is it that Prime service from Amazon has become such a huge service worldwide? Because for a Prime subscriber, you are not just getting free delivery, faster delivery, you're also getting video service, you're getting audio service, and you can start making more and more money from them. So we are currently talking about 70 to 100 million odd Prime subscribers, right? And now look at multiple ways through which you can create more value. Because Amazon now at one level is actually getting money on the back of $99 or $9.99 in the India context as a one-time fee. And then it starts generating more value as that specific consumer keeps on transacting more and more on the e-commerce platform. This is how you generate, this is how you create more value from your users, as opposed to the new user, the only way I can actually generate more value is to bloody hell first decrease my cost of acquisition. And the critical aspects of a user very clearly are, what is the scale? When you think of Facebook, you think of 2 billion plus users. When you think of Apple, you don't think of revenues and top line and bottom line and what is their share price. You think about billion plus odd consumers carrying the smartphones in their pockets. When you think of stickiness, you think about it at two different levels. You think about the amount of time a consumer is spending on your platform, right? On Voot, for example, the thing that I'm most proud about is not the 50, 60 million consumers who are coming in every month, but what I'm happiest about is that they're spending 50 minutes every day. For Facebook, the thing that they are most happy about is 1 hour plus of time that consumers are spending on their platform. Again, on Netflix, the thing that they're most proud about is their renewal rates. Internationally, in US and Western markets, renewal rates apparently is as crazy as 80% plus, which is such a sweet spot to be in. And of course, what is the value? What is the CLTV? Consumer lifetime value. And this is where Amazon actually scores the most, because they get users as a part of the Prime subscription, and this then start getting them to transact more and more and more. I spoke about this in one of the conferences a couple of days back. There was a study that was done which showed that Google earns about $100 odd from their users. Facebook earns about $125 odd from their users. And Amazon earns more than $700 from their users. And that's how you generate value for your business, by not looking at the story from aggregates, but looking at the story at a user level. And how do you start looking at valuing your existing users? By looking at 3 critical aspects. The first big thing that you need to think of is, what is the cash flow per user, which I spoke about, which is pretty much like an individual P&L for every user. You don't need to do that. I'm just giving you as an example. Second is, what is the growth rate that you're projecting for your users? And third, what is the risk that you think that you have with respect to the user either staying back on your platform or your ability to get certain value from the users? Simple point, if it's a SVOD business, if it's a subscription business where a user has already paid for the service, revenues are predictable for you. You know what is the quantum of value that you're going to get in the foreseeable future. If it's a TVOD business, which is transaction video on demand, right? You don't know if the consumer is actually going to transact next month or not. It is not a predictable levels of cash flow that you can do for your business. However, the extent to which you can drive value on the back of a TVOD business model is much more than an SVOD, because a SVOD is limited by the pricing, but a TVOD is not. And these are certain things that you need to add to your business model, which will eventually give you the value per user, which is the present value of the expected cash flow. And of course, the biggest thing is, what is the lifetime that you're predicting for your user? Do you think the user is going to stay for 5 years, 1 year, 10 years? And that will impact your value per user. Simple case in point, what that eventually lands to is, for different consumer segments on a platform, and this is just a simple example, that I've taken from Voot, and the data is very clearly for illustrative purposes. If the value that you are making from your user is lower than the cost of acquisition, then it's a bad business to be in. As simple as that. Having said that, just like my friend, if he's starting off this venture of his, and if he's in the business of trying to scale up, then the initial few months, quarters, years, you will obviously have to start spending more money as compared to the value that you will derive from them. Because you will have to first cultivate the users on your platform. And how do you derive the CLTV, which is consumer lifetime value, for a service like Voot? And this is again an example. What you first need is, what is the churn ratio? A consumer who comes on your platform, how long does he or she stay on your platform? And the lifetime will actually be 1 divided by the churn ratio. That's the lifetime period. How do you find the value? For an AVOD business like Voot, it will be, of course, a combination of what is the fill rate that I'm getting on my platform, what is the CPM that I'm getting from the advertisers, what is the average videos per day that a consumer is spending on my platform, and voila, I get the ARPU and I get the lifetime value. And then the only thing that I need to do is match that with the cost of my digital marketing or mass media marketing. If that value is more, then I'm in a bad business. If that value is less, I need to quickly ramp up my business and get more of such users. And you can do that for every user. If not every user, I really urge you guys to start doing that at least for different consumer segments, for different consumer cohorts. And then eventually start doing that at an individual user level. And this is what you guys need to ask yourselves from your business. Where does your business fall currently? Cost per user and value per user. If your value per user is high and your cost per user is low, as is the case with brands and businesses which have managed to create a huge word of mouth networking effect, right? Brands like Facebook, Insta, etc., they are in a great business to be in because they don't need to necessarily spend money. If I'm on Facebook, I tell my family, my friend, hey, aren't you on Facebook? Oh, okay, so Akash Banerjee is on Facebook, or Akash Banerjee is on Insta, or on Snapchat, or somewhere else. Word of mouth spreads, and that person comes in without the brand necessarily spending money, incurring any expense to get that user in. Cost per user is minimal, and the value that I can generate from that user is immense. And if your business is top right, which is your cost per user is high, and the value that you're getting from that user is low, you guys really need to question, is this the right business to be in, or do you have the right business model to get into? And this is, for an OTT business, this is what the pros and cons of 3 different business models look like. What AVOD, which is advertising business, gets you, platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Voot, what they get you is quick and immediate scale up of users on your platform. Because it's a free platform, you can immediately ramp up. There are no barriers to entry. There are no costs that I'm actually asking from my user. But are those revenues predictable? I'm always dependent on the advertiser monies, on the advertiser to start spending on my platform. It's not a predictable one. The risk quotient goes up, which impacts my valuation of a user. As opposed to a TVOD, where again, I cannot predict what this guy is going to be doing, whether he's going to be transacting or not. Case in point, Amazon. But if I can start selling him or her more products, I can certainly start making more money. Let's take the case of a broadcaster. Disney last year was actually for some time valued lesser than Netflix. Disney, which is a legacy brand, which has its pockets right into broadcast, theme parks, pay TV business, OTT business, pretty much everything and everything, sports business, ESPN. But Netflix's ability to reach out to its users and with a very high level of stickiness actually gave them a higher market cap. But when early this year, when Disney finally announced its OTT Plus plans, on that very day itself, Netflix lost 8 billion valuation. Because their ability to generate value at a user level has increased manifold. And my friends, this is how the game very clearly is being played in this new marketplace. And we don't need to look far behind. This is exactly what's happening in China. The example of WeChat, the super app, they are not in the business of messaging. They're not in the business of commerce. They're not in the business of videos. They're in the business of generating higher value for their users, which has got them to a 700 million to a billion odd user number. Same is the case with Meituan, with Alipay, and even the TikTok, which is a China version, Douyin. It is even that has now entered the commerce space. None of these big brands with higher market cap, are operating in specific industries or categories. They are playing the game of generating high scale for their platform on the back of users, generating more affinity on the back of the users that are getting on the platform, and constantly finding ways to create, to generate, to maximize more value from their user base. And that is the business that each of these brands are in. Flipkart announced its entry into the video space a month back, right? Jio, we all know, is pretty much operating across the spectrum. None of the brands have any love for any category or any industry. And no one is certainly doing anything for social service. Everyone is doing service to generate more value for their business on the back of user story. And the last one, the bottom line very clearly is to generate more value. Losing money on servicing your existing users is worse than losing money on getting more users, new users. You have to find ways to spend as little on the existing users so that you can create more funds to get and acquire more new users. And if you're spending more on existing users, then your valuation very clearly is going to get hit. So look into the P&L. Companies whose expenses are fixed is better than companies whose expenses are variable. Because from a certain user, which I spoke about earlier, if you start generating more value, but if the expenses are largely variable, and if that also keeps on increasing, then how the hell in this world are you actually going to generate higher net earnings from those users? You have to find ways to reduce your variable cost. Big data and network effects, I spoke about it, they're not buzzwords. And not a single company on this earth is in the business of big data or creating more networking effects. These are all ammunition, these are all tools, these are all different ways for these businesses, for these brands to understand more about their users so that they can sell more to them. So that the value of that user increases, enhances significantly more than what we are getting currently. And this is what networking effect and big data is actually supposed to do. Do you have a clear roadmap on your way to profitability? And this is a very, very important part, which is don't stress out if currently your business is actually showing a negative earning. That is earning. Valuation is a different game. And you guys need to start understanding the difference between these two. Earning is what is today, a point in time. Valuation is about what you think, what you hope, what you dream, the ambition that you have in for the future around the fact that you can make more money. That is what valuation is about. So don't worry about it, but of course, you need to have a clear roadmap on finding ways how to get you on the pathway to generate more profitability. And of course, economies of scale always works. Why? Again, because your cost of acquisition of a new user then goes down. And you can keep on getting more and more users. That's all I have today. Whether you guys are currently representing existing digital businesses, or maybe you guys are operating in the traditional business. Some of you might purely be doing investments, and some of you may not. Some of you might also be looking for a job change, and you guys might be job seekers or job hoppers. Whatever cut you think you would want to bracket yourself under, the story increasingly is about user first, platform first, user first story. And if you guys have still not found ways to understand who your users are, find ways how to put a certain value to that user. 3, understand what is the cost of servicing that user. And point number 4, if you have not found ways to derive more value from your user, then it's not a game that you're playing to win. You guys are then only participating. And I urge you guys to stop participating and to start playing to win. And to win, the entire approach is not a content-first approach. It is not an e-commerce-first approach. It is not a travel-first approach. It is not a food delivery-first approach. It's a user-first approach that we all need to imbibe. Thank you, guys. I have run out of time. I'm around. We can have a chat.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Akash Banerjee? What an informative talk. We'll only have time for 2 questions right now because we are running out of time. Anybody who has a question for Mr. Akash, please, ma'am, stand up, introduce yourself, and ask a question. Can we have the mic for the lady, please?
Yeah, hi. So I have this question. You told that initially there's an investment that we have to do to get the user on the platform. But how long is enough? Like, for how long can we think, okay, we have to pump in money and so on?
I would need to become a consultant of your business to start predicting that. But
like, is there a way to find out? Yeah.
look, there are ways to find out, right? Which is again dependent on what is the value, how much are your existing users spending on your platform currently. Let's forget about what a new user is going to do when he comes on your platform. Let's forget about that. The first question is, do you have complete clarity on what the existing users are doing today? How much of time are they actually staying on your platform? What is their lifetime period? I told you about, for an AWOD business like Woot, it's a very simple calculation, which is, what is the churn ratio? Week-on-week churn, month-on-month churn, year-on-year churn. For a platform like Netflix, which has a very high renewal rate, both renewal rate and even high dollar rate renewal, right? They exactly know what is the lifetime. And once you know the lifetime, you can also very clearly derive the lifetime value. Lifetime is different from lifetime value. Lifetime is calculated in days, weeks, months, years. Lifetime value is calculated in INR, euros, dollars. My submission to you would be, first understand what is happening on your platform as far as an existing user is concerned. Find out that and then start thinking about what is it that you want, what is it that you wish the business to be. project that, basis your existing numbers of your existing users, project that for the next 2 years, 5 years. What are the additional business models that you're going to be putting in play? What are the additional offerings that you think you would want to start offering to your consumers? And hence, what is the projected revenue that you think you can start making from that user? And what is the cost you're incurring right now? If you're a digital business, there's not just cost of marketing or cost of content or cost of manpower. There's a bloody cost of streaming as well. The thing that kills me right now the most is the more consumers come on my platform and spend time, the more I need to spend on servicing them. There's a streaming cost. And that's what actually, what's actually killing me, to the point which I spoke about earlier, which is a variable cost. I need to find for my business ways and means to lower the variable cost. What is the truth about your business? You have to find that for yourself.
So what I understand, to summarize, like if year on year or month on month, the cost per user for acquiring that user is going down for me, then it's working out, probably. And the user is generating value, spending more time on the platform, then it's going well, and I should go in that direction. Otherwise, stop there.
Stop where? Stop doing what? Exit the business?
Yeah, maybe. No?
That could again be one of the options that you may have. My submission to you will be, find out what are the additional ways and means through which you can offer more to that consumer who is currently coming in for a certain purpose. You are currently offering him X. Is there a way that you can offer him X plus Y, through which you can actually get more value from that particular user? And is there any cost that you are currently incurring in servicing the existing user? And do you have a complete clarity on what is the cost that you are actually incurring in acquiring a new user? Break down your entire user into existing versus new separately. Look at your entire balance sheet, look at your entire P&L, your entire cash flow under these two separate consumer segments. And you will understand, on the back of the existing users, you will actually get such a rich understanding which will help you draw a very clear blueprint for the new users. With how much you need to acquire, at what cost you need to acquire, right? And what is the value that you're getting from them. And that's it.
Time for the last and the very quick question, please. Can we have somebody?
Yeah.
Ma'am, please.
Hello, I'm Harshla Chawad. I wanted to ask you, like, recently Jio has released a scheme where it's going to give TV for free, like as a part of their whole agenda that is there. So I wanted to ask you, right now the trend is like people are moving away from TV, especially the youngsters. They are moving to laptops and the mobile phones for consuming content. And now Jio is coming up with this free TV scheme. So how is all this going to affect you? I think this is going to affect you more in terms of getting the vernacular audience, which is like beyond cities or something. But then what plans do you have? And how do you view this as a strategy for user acquisition? Like, can you shed some light on this?
You're talking about plans about me as in Voot?
Yeah, for Voot especially, and for
I think
all
it's
the content creators, you know?
I think it's a great boon to have. We are talking about 700 million plus, we are talking about 180 to 200 million TV households in this country, right? And how many consumers are there in the OTT segment currently? We're talking about 250, 300 million odd. There's a huge distance to be traversed. There's a huge distance to be traveled. I'm not going to be killing myself about there's this new partner, there's this new platform which is actually getting into the TV business. In fact, I am that much more overjoyed because a lot of the TV viewing might actually start happening on the back of connected, on the back of streaming itself. Amazon Fire Stick is actually a classic case in point, right? Exactly. People are watching Voot on a Fire Stick on TV, right? And you know what? People are spending 2 to 3 times more time watching Voot on a TV, connected TV on Fire Stick, as compared to spending time on a mobile. Because the attention span on a mobile is obviously really bad as compared to watching it on a large screen. So actually It's a great boon for content creators, for OTT platforms, and for advertisers. I actually don't see this as a challenge. I actually see this as a great opportunity.
It might be, but then even Jio will be coming up, I'm very sure, with their own versions, just like Amazon is, just like how Disney is, and all those
good.
things.
We'll all be
So-
building the category. Isn't that good? I think we're all in the OTT space. Chuck OTT space. Let's talk about digital. We're all in the task. The task that each of us have taken upon ourselves is the task of creating the category. We are very, very far away from thinking ourselves as being in the journey of share gain yet. So we're all building the category. The entire ecosystem is getting created, getting built. Devices, platforms, advertisers. It's magical times for all of us.
But then when it comes to like, if, like I see this as a more change from the normal TV that we have, the broadcasting networks and all those things, and then your OTT platforms will be coming in picture, and especially I think Jio, since it's giving it for free, they will be having a much upper hand, you know, like in terms of what we say, like a monopoly sort of thing. Don't you think it's moving in that direction?
I don't know. I don't believe in doing a lot of crystal grazing. All I know is that the more partners participate in building this ecosystem, the better it is going to be for this ecosystem and in our ability to monetize this ecosystem. We actually need more participants and start seeing them as partners, as frenemies, as opposed to seeing them only as enemies.
So how do you think, are there any new sources of revenue model that might open up because of this particular move by Jio or anything else?
I don't know. Sorry, again, I don't do crystal grazing.
Well,
Thank you.
I'll request,
you.
ma'am, if you have more queries, you can always. Sir, I will leave you be the judge for which question you loved answering, because we have a cash prize for the person who asked you the best question, or you.
There were just two questions. I think I would rather leave it to the next panel to decide on their set of
Okay, sir.
questions.
Thank you.
Yeah?
May I please
Thank
call
you,
upon Mr. Siddharth Laik to present a memento to Mr. Akash Banerjee. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Akash Banerjee? What an informative talk. Thank you, sir.